Just imagine a virus that turns people into zombies, but does not take away their minds. The zombies in this movie do not move slowly and sluggishly like zombies in other films. Instead, they think like humans and hunt intelligently. The only thing that dies inside them is their humanity, and brutality takes its place. So friends, just think about it. If the people you are running from turn out to be smarter than you, how will you survive? The story begins in a quiet apartment. In Taipei, Taiwan, there, just like me, we see an unemployed guy named Jim. He lives with his wife Kat, who's just woken up. Kat is currently the one carrying all the responsibilities of the household. Kat tells Jim to get ready quickly and drop her off at the metro station because she has a very important meeting at the office today. She reminds Jim how hard she has been working and says she has been doing all this extra work so she can finally take a vacation next week, and the two of them can go somewhere together. Their plan had been pending for a long time, but then Jim says something that slightly ruins the mood. Jim tells her he has received a photography offer from a German company, and he himself is not sure whether he will be able to go on vacation. Next week is promised. Hearing this, Kat gets upset because she had worked really hard for the one vacation she gets in a year. Jim realizes his mistake and tries to calm her down. He says he will talk to his friend and try to push the work schedule forward. But Kat gets annoyed and goes to freshen up. Actually, Jim has been sitting idle for quite some time, and right now he really needs a job so he can take responsibility for the household. During breakfast, Jim is scrolling on his phone when a news report catches his attention. In the video, a doctor is trying to warn people. The doctor says he has noticed symptoms of a strange flu virus in a patient. The virus has been named the Alvin virus, and it could be extremely dangerous. However, at that time, no one had any idea that this strange virus would soon turn the entire city into a graveyard. The doctor then makes a shocking claim. He says that a similar virus appeared a few years ago right before an election, and he is convinced the government is deliberately spreading rumors about it for votes. Unfortunately, Jim does not believe him at all. Jim thinks the doctor is some political puppet spreading fake news before the election to defame the opposition government. While watching the news, Jim walks out onto his balcony and is looking at the morning view when he suddenly notices an elderly woman. Her behavior is extremely strange and frightening. Jim calls out to her, and when the woman turns toward him, Jim is stunned because her clothes are soaked in blood and her face looks terrifying. Just then, Kat comes to him and tells him to quickly drop her at the metro station. When Jim looks back, the mysterious woman has disappeared. At that moment, Jim's neighbor comes out to water his plants. The neighbor has a cold, advises him to go see a doctor, but the neighbor refuses, says the flu is a common illness, and that's false. News is being spread these days claiming the symptoms can be deadly. Jim smiles at him and says, "You really trust your health, don't you?" After that, Jim takes Kat on his scooter and heads toward the station to drop her off at work. On the way, they see police cars and a huge crowd. The police are trying to control someone who has attacked people in public. Seeing this, Jim and Kat are shocked. They cannot understand how a human being could become so violent. Anyway, after dropping Kat at the station, Jim tries to make up with her. He says, "Kat, I'm sorry I can't watch you work this hard. That's why I'm looking for a job first. After that, wherever you say, I'll go with you and we'll have a lot of fun." Kat smiles at his words, says goodbye and leaves. But neither of them knows that this moment between them is the last one they will get. Soon as Jim turns back toward home, he notices that the police officers have disappeared. They've even left their cars abandoned. Jim thinks maybe the police went after the man who was attacking people. After that, Jim goes into a restaurant to get his favorite breakfast. While waiting, he starts looking at property prices in the newspaper. His dream is to one day buy his own home, where he and Kat can live together. At that very moment, the same old woman arrives, the one Jim saw on the rooftop that morning. She's actually the first victim of the Alvin virus, and has now turned into a zombie. A boy eating breakfast in the restaurant approaches her and asks, "Are you feeling sick?" The old woman suddenly shows him her horrifying face and spits on him. Then she pours boiling oil on the worker who was making breakfast and starts tearing the worker's skin with her nails. Jim, who is standing nearby, tries to stop her. But her next target is Jim. The boy she spit on has also become infected, and he brutally kills his own friend. Before she can infect Jim too, an out-of-control car runs her over. But when Jim looks at the driver, he is horrified because the driver's face has become terrifying like a beast. Just then, the infected boy comes after Jim, along with him. The other people, the old woman infected, also start chasing Jim. Jim somehow runs back to his apartment to save his life and locks the gate behind him. His heart is pounding. He's trying to understand what has happened to people. At the same time, he hears an emergency siren. An announcement tells everyone not to leave their homes, because a zombie virus has spread rapidly through the city, and the infected people have become extremely dangerous. But suddenly, laughter from infected people starts coming through the microphone. This makes it clear that the virus is spreading very fast. Jim realizes that the news he saw that morning was not fake. Now he starts worrying about Kat. He immediately begins calling and texting her to check on her. But then his neighbor attacks him from behind, the same neighbor who had a cold. The cold was actually a sign that he was infected with the virus. His neighbor, now a zombie, attacks Jim with pruning shears. Before Jim can react, the shears cut off 2 of his fingers. The neighbor picks up Jim's fingers and eats them right. In front of him, he also says filthy things about Kat. This makes one thing clear. The virus does not erase people's memories, which makes these zombies even more dangerous. Jim finds an opening and hits him on the head, knocking him unconscious. Then, while screaming in pain, Jim runs out of the apartment. But the scene outside is nothing less than hell. The virus has spread like wildfire. People are not just dying, they're attacking one another like maniacs. They're screaming, laughing, and enjoying the massacre. Seeing this, Jim runs toward his scooter to save his life. But the sound of the scooter catches the attention of dozens of zombies. Now Jim is alone, with an entire pack of hungry zombies behind him. The scene now shifts to Kat, who is completely unaware of the destruction happening outside, and is calmly reading a book. Sitting beside her is a big businessman whom we can call Lin. Seeing Kat's beauty, he tries to flirt with her and asks what she is reading. Kat tells him she is reading a novel. Lin says no one reads books on the metro anymore. Everyone is busy on their phones. Kat says he is right, but slowly his behavior starts making her very uncomfortable. He tells Kat that she is very beautiful. At first, Kat ignores his comments. But when Lin starts touching her, she loses patience and tells him to sit quietly, or she will file a harassment case against him. Lin acts sad and says he was only complimenting her. But friends, in reality, his intentions were bad. After this, the metro stops at the next station, where a man wearing glasses gets on. Meanwhile, to get away from that creep, Kat gives her seat to a heavyset girl named Molly. Lin has no interest in Molly, so he sits quietly and curses his luck. Everyone in the metro is lost in their own world. But the man wearing glasses now starts behaving strangely. Suddenly, he pulls out a knife and kills a boy standing near him. Then he goes crazy and starts attacking everyone, killing many people. He has actually become a victim of the Alvin virus. Lin gets scared and tries to run away meanwhile. Some men in the metro show courage and manage to hold down the attacker. Everyone thinks the situation is now under control. But that is not the case at all, because the Alvin virus spreads like lightning. Soon a few more people become infected and start attacking others. Some zombies also begin harassing girls. Now the perverted Lin has also turned into a zombie. His first target is Molly. He attacks her and gouges out one of her eyes. His next target is Kat. But as soon as the metro stops at the station, a stampede breaks out. People start running outside in panic. Kat, however, acts smart. She is afraid that infected people may be hiding in the crowd, so she takes Molly and leaves in the other direction. But her luck is not good. Zombie Lin is still following Kat. Kat takes Molly and immediately runs toward the exit gate, but on the way she bumps into a gym guy. Before the gym guy can understand what is happening, Lin reaches them. The gym guy thinks Lin is just an ordinary thug harassing the girls. He tries to show off his strength and punches him, but Lin bites off the gym guy's nose. Then he grabs an emergency axe and brutally kills him. The scene is so horrifying that Kat and Molly are shaken to the core. They run toward the exit gate to save their lives and ask a man standing there for help. But instead of helping them, the man starts closing the door. Somehow, after falling and struggling, both of them manage to get outside. Molly is furious and starts beating the man who closed the door. His name is Kevin. Kevin explains that he thought both of them had turned into zombies and were coming to attack him. After that, Kevin advises them to go to a nearby hospital so Molly's wounds can be treated. But the three of them do not know that Lynn has heard everything they said. On the other side, Jim is stunned after seeing the condition of the city. There are piles of bodies everywhere. Then a zombie who is doing disgusting things to some girls spots him. Jim runs toward the mountains to save himself, but the road ahead is blocked. Jim takes another route, but because of the pain in his fingers, he stops after a while and wraps tape around his wound to stop the bleeding. There, he also finds a large knife, which he takes as a weapon. Suddenly, he hears strange noises. When Jim goes closer and looks, his hair stands on end. Some zombie children are brutally torturing a person. Jim cannot bear to watch this, so he risks his own life and fights the zombie children. After that, the 4 zombie kids run away. But unfortunately, the man Jim saved has also turned into a zombie. Then the children return and attack Jim together. Jim somehow saves his life and runs away. Meanwhile, inside the hospital, everything is silent, and Molly is being treated. Kat realizes that her phone fell somewhere on the way, so she asks Kevin for his phone and calls Jim, but because Jim is running around, he does not answer. Then the president appears live on TV. The president says that 4.5 million people have died from the virus so far, and he talks about completely isolating certain cities. But then something happens on screen that shocks the whole world. The general, who had become infected a short while earlier, suddenly reveals his true form and puts a grenade directly into the president's mouth. A blast happens live on TV, and the signal cuts out. Seeing this terrifying scene, the fear inside the people at the hospital turns into madness. People start fighting over small things and become ready to kill one another. Humanity has completely disappeared. In the middle of this chaos, Lynn arrives at the hospital gate with a large army of zombies. Lynn, who is still obsessed with Kat's beauty and wants to assault her, searches for her and reaches Molly. Molly is helpless because of her wounds and cannot even move. What Lynn does to her there is extremely shameful. On the other side, instead of fighting like a hero, Kevin hides behind a table and covers his ears. He is so cowardly that he does not even have the courage to watch the destruction happening in front of his own eyes. Meanwhile, in the silence of the mountains, Jim checks his phone and sees several missed calls. Immediately calls back, and hearing Kat's voice gives him relief. Kat tells him she is trapped in the hospital and zombies have taken over the place. Jim encourages her and promises that he will definitely come to save her. But Jim knows that going back into that death trap without weapons or backup is basically suicide. Back at the hospital, Kevin tries to escape, but look at his bad luck. He comes face to face with Molly, who is no longer the old Molly. She has become a terrifying zombie. Even after becoming a zombie, her hatred for Kevin remains in her mind. She signals the other zombies to attack Kevin, so she can torture his body. Meanwhile, Kat runs to the upper floor to save herself, and locks the door with a strong iron rod. She thinks she is safe. But Zombie Lynn's strength is now beyond human strength. He bends the heavy iron rod as if it were paper and comes inside. He locks the door from the inside because he wants to hunt Kat alone. Then Kat uses her intelligence. As soon as Lynn comes close to her, Kat sprays him with a fire extinguisher. Before Lynn can understand what is happening, Kat repeatedly hits him on the head with the heavy cylinder and finally takes him down. At last, she is free from that monster. Kat has not even recovered from the shock when a virologist arrives and takes her into a room. He tells her to clean herself immediately because the virus can also spread through sweat or blood. When Kat, because of the trauma, cannot understand what he is saying, the virologist pulls out a pistol. Now Kat has no choice but to obey him. However, it seems that the man is not evil. He only wants to research the virus. Here we find out that this virologist is none other than the same Dr. Jim saw on his phone that morning. Kat understands him and goes to shower. At the same time, the doctor explains that the Alvin virus attacks the part of the brain that controls human desires. After that, a person loses control over themselves and is willing to sink to any level to fulfill their darkest and most suppressed desires. He also says that he warned the government, but his voice was silenced in the game of politics. Now he has prepared a vaccine, and he needs Kat to test it because the virus will spread through her body soon, and she may also turn into a zombie. Kat secretly sends her location to Jim, When she goes to put her clothes in the trash can, she sees a zombie child inside the trash, the child the doctor had experimented on. But before Kat can understand anything, the doctor injects her with the vaccine too, handcuffs her and tells her he has received a signal for help from the government. A helicopter will soon arrive on the roof. Meanwhile, Jim also reaches the hospital with a weapon. And guess what is about to happen next? The doctor takes Kat toward the roof. But then with a scream, poor Kat somehow carries the injured doctor toward the roof. And then they see someone standing in front of them. Yes, unfortunately, Jim is no longer human. The woman Jim loved the most is now someone he begins to suspect. Seeing Kat and the doctor together makes him suspicious. The doctor fires at Jim. But Jim's zombie speed proves too much for him. Kat locks the gate to save herself. Jim pounds on the gate from the outside like a maniac. Kat cries and asks him, "Jim, how are you feeling?" There is no love left in Jim's eyes now. There is only hunger. He says, "If I get inside, I'll chew you alive. I'm really hungry because I haven't even had my favorite breakfast since morning." Hearing this, Kat's world falls apart. The same Jim who once promised to save her now wants to eat her. Their dreams, their vacation, their memories, this virus has taken everything away. Just then, Kat hears the sound of a helicopter above. With a heavy heart, she leaves Jim behind and runs toward the roof. Jim, who has now become a beast, watches her leave with a terrifying smile. In the background, we hear gunshots. That means the people in the helicopter also thought Kat was infected and shot her. So, friends, this story teaches us that we should never take any illness or warning lightly. Pandemics like COVID-19 have taught us that health is the greatest wealth.